Knee pain is one of those frustrating issues that can creep into your life quietly and then suddenly dominate your everyday experience, especially as you age past 60 when the natural cushioning in your joints begins to wear down, making movements that were once second nature, like climbing stairs, bending to tie a shoe, or even walking across the room, feel increasingly uncomfortable or even unbearable. And while there are countless creams, pills, injections, and surgical procedures out there promising relief, many seniors are now discovering that one of the most surprisingly effective tools for easing knee pain doesn't come from a pharmacy or clinic at all, but from something as simple and overlooked as a small coin, specifically a 10p coin, which is being hailed in certain wellness circles as a game-changing home remedy for reducing knee discomfort without the side effects or long-term dependency that comes with conventional medications. And although it might sound far-fetched first, there's actually a fascinating explanation behind how such a humble object can bring about real relief. Because the 10p coin trick isn't magic, it's a combination of ancient pressure point wisdom, neuromuscular feedback, and targeted stimulation that can help reset the way your brain communicates with your pain receptors and joints. And to understand how this works, you have to first realize that not all knee pain comes solely from joint damage. Much of it is actually related to muscular imbalances, nerve sensitivity, and poor circulation, especially in older adults whose bodies naturally slow down the efficiency of blood flow and cellular repair over time. And when you place a coin on a very specific area around the knee and secure it using a breathable medical tape or even a simple bandage, but doing more than just putting metal on your skin, you're applying consistent micropressure to a region of the body that's rich in acupressure points and nerve endings. And this can have a powerful effect on the surrounding tissues, reducing inflammation, encouraging natural healing responses, and even resetting the misfiring pain signals that often accompany chronic knee issues like osteoarthritis or tendon strain. And what's more remarkable is that many who've tried this simple method report near instant relief, not just because of the placebo effect, which does play a role in all forms of healing, but because this trick activates your body's natural pathways of pain modulation, much like how reflexology or acupuncture works, but without the need for needles or trained practitioners. And this coin trick can be used almost anywhere, at home, on the go, even while sleeping, and it costs virtually nothing to try, which makes it incredibly appealing for older adults living on a fixed income who are trying to avoid the ongoing costs of expensive medications or repeated doctor visits. And let's not forget that for many seniors, knee pain becomes more than just a physical issue. It can also lead to emotional stress, social withdrawal, and a loss of independence, because when your knees hurt, your world gets smaller, and even routine activities like grocery shopping, gardening, or spending time with grandchildren become overwhelming. And that's why the appeal of something so simple and non-invasive is so strong, especially when conventional treatments have failed or come with side effects like stomach issues, dizziness, or fatigue. And it's also worth noting that the specific area where the coin is placed is not random. It's chosen based on a combination of acupuncture wisdom and modern anatomical knowledge, targeting a spot just below the kneecap and slightly to the inside or outside, depending on where the pain radiates from. And this area is densely populated with nerve endings that connect to the body's wider pain processing network, which means a well-placed coin can actually influence the way your brain interprets discomfort in the entire leg and the metal in the coin itself, usually a mix of copper and nickel. May also have subtle conductive properties that interact with the body's natural electromagnetic field, helping to reduce static charge buildup and improve circulation in superficial tissues, though the scientific research on this is still emerging, and while not every person will have the exact same result. The consistency with which this trick has worked for so many people, especially older adults dealing with chronic knee issues, suggests that it's much more than just a quirky internet myth or viral hack. It's part of a growing movement towards body-based, low-tech solutions that empower people to take control of their pain without becoming dependent on pharmaceuticals or invasive interventions. And the key here is to approach this trick not as a miracle, but as one more tool in your toolkit for managing your health in a smarter, gentler, and more sustainable way, and when used in combination with light stretching, better hydration, anti-inflammatory foods, and gentle strength training for the surrounding leg muscles. The 10p coin trick can actually help you regain mobility, reduce flare-ups, and move with greater ease and confidence. And for those who've suffered for years and resigned themselves to a life of compromised activity or daily discomfort, this discovery can feel like a revelation. Not because it fixes everything at once, but because it shows that healing is still possible, even later in life, even without expensive treatments, and that small changes like the weight and placement of a single coin can unlock big shifts in the way your body feels and moves. And as we continue to explore this technique in depth, we'll look at exactly how to apply it, what to expect in terms of sensation and response, and why so many people over 60 are turning to this surprisingly simple method as a first line of defense against the kind of knee pain that limits their freedom and joy. Every single day, once you begin applying the 10p coin trick and start noticing even small improvements, it's natural to feel curious about what exactly is happening inside your body that makes this approach so effective, and to truly appreciate its impact, we have to dive a bit deeper into how pain works, particularly in the knee joint, which is one of the most complex and heavily used joints in the human body, involving bones, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and synovial fluid all working together to allow for smooth, stable motion. And when one component of this delicate system is inflamed or misaligned, pain often follows, but the pain isn't always directly proportional to the damage. Meaning, sometimes mild structural changes cause intense discomfort, while major issues might not hurt at all. And this is because your nervous system plays a key role in amplifying or quieting pain signals based on how the brain interprets them. And when you use a small object, like a coin, to apply consistent micro pressure on a precise spot near the knee, you're not only mechanically stimulating the tissues in that area, but also sending a new kind of signal to your brain that competes with and can override the chronic pain messages that have been repeating endlessly. And this principle is known in neuroscience as gate control theory, which explains how non-painful input can close the nerve gates to painful input, thereby preventing pain sensation from traveling to the central nervous system. And the beauty of the coin trick is that it activates this theory in the simplest possible way, through gentle, focused pressure using a tool that costs almost nothing and requires no special training. And because the coin stays in place for extended periods, sometimes for hours at a time depending on comfort, it continues to reinforce this new signal pathway, which may help the brain deprioritize the chronic pain over time, leading to longer-lasting relief. And some users even report that with repeated use, their knee discomfort becomes less frequent and less intense, as though the brain is gradually unlearning its pain response. And while this may sound too good to be true, it's actually supported by a growing body of research into neuroplasticity, which shows that the brain is constantly reshaping its responses based on the signals it receives. And by giving your brain new, positive sensory input through the coin trick, you may be actively rewiring it to become less reactive to pain in that area. But even beyond the neurological aspects, there's a more practical reason why the 10p coin helps so many people. It subtly increases your awareness of your knee and the way you move throughout the day, because once you place something foreign on your body, even a coin, you become more conscious of that area, and this mindfulness leads you to move more carefully, avoid sudden twisting, and engage the muscles around the knee more deliberately, which in turn supports better alignment and reduces the micro-traumas that accumulate from poor posture or mechanical stress. And this feedback loop, more awareness leading to gentler motion leading to less strain, can dramatically change your relationship with chronic joint pain. And while the coin itself plays a direct role, It also acts as a physical cue to remind you to stay engaged with your healing process throughout the day. And over time, this attention to how you move can help strengthen not only the knee joint, but the surrounding muscles, particularly the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, which are all vital for maintaining stability and absorbing impact during walking, standing, and climbing stairs. And since muscle weakness is a major contributor to knee pain in seniors, anything that naturally encourages muscle engagement without added strain can only help in the long run. And as more and more seniors begin adopting simple, body-centered practices like this, we're starting to shift away from the old paradigm of immediately turning to surgery, injections, or long-term medication use, and instead exploring how the body can respond to gentle stimuli when given the chance. And this doesn't mean you should throw out your doctor's advice or stop any prescribed treatments. Far from it. But rather that you can complement those treatments with non-invasive strategies that give you more control and reduce your dependency on stronger interventions. And for many seniors, this shift in mindset is empowering because it brings the healing process back into their own hands, showing them that the body is not broken, but adaptable, that pain is not always a fixed sentence, but a dynamic message that can be influenced. And perhaps most importantly, that even the smallest tools, like a 10-pence coin, can carry immense power when used with care, consistency, and intention. And it's also important to understand that not every coin placement works the same way for every person, which is why experimenting with a few different positions around the knee is recommended. And some people find more relief when the coin is taped just below the patella toward the inner knee, while others prefer the outer edge, especially if their pain is linked to iliotibial band tension or lateral ligament strain. And it can help to gently press around the knee joint and note where the tenderness is most pronounced, then place the coin on or near that spot, not with force, but with enough contact to be felt during normal movement. And once secured with a soft medical tape or cloth bandage, you can go about your day normally, observing any changes in sensation or mobility. And while some people feel relief in just minutes, for others it may take multiple sessions. But the key is to be consistent and patient, recognizing that your body may need time to respond and recalibrate, especially if the pain has been present for years. And one final point to emphasize is that because this method is so gentle, it pairs beautifully with other lifestyle strategies for joint care, including anti-inflammatory diets rich in omega-3s, hydration to keep joint fluid viscous and functional, and low-impact activities like Tai Chi, aquatic therapy, and resistance band exercises, all of which help build strength without putting additional stress on the knees. So in a way, the coin becomes not just a tool for relief, but a symbol of a larger philosophy of healing, one that values simplicity, natural mechanisms, and the power of listening to your body without overwhelming it with force or chemicals. As more people over 60 begin experimenting with the 10p coin trick and sharing their experiences, what's becoming increasingly clear is that this simple tool offers more than just physical relief. It opens the door to a deeper understanding of the connection between our bodies and our attention, our pain and our patience, and the possibilities that emerge when we stop viewing our discomfort as something to be silenced and instead begin seeing it as a signal that could be respectfully tuned, rather than forcibly shut down. And this perspective is especially powerful for seniors who are often told that pain is just a natural part of aging, something to be endured or medicated away. But what we're finding is that subtle interventions, like pressing a coin to a tender nerve center, can have ripple effects throughout the body, calming inflammation, interrupting unhelpful feedback loops between joints and the brain, and offering the kind of non-invasive support that restores a sense of agency to those who feel like their pain controls them. And that's perhaps one of the most overlooked but important outcomes of the coin trick. Not just the reduction in knee pain itself, but the psychological shift it fosters when someone realizes they can take action with their own hands to influence how they feel, because that awareness is a doorway to better choices, more movement, and a willingness to keep engaging with life instead of shrinking away from it due to fear of discomfort or injury. And many who try the coin method begin to explore other aspects of their daily routine that might be contributing to their knee issues, like how long they sit without stretching, what shoes they wear, or whether their walking patterns have changed due to subtle imbalances in posture or foot placement. And this new attentiveness often leads to other small but impactful changes, like adding a few gentle hamstring stretches in the morning, switching to better arch-supporting footwear, or walking on softer surfaces instead of hard concrete. And each of these adjustments builds upon the last, reinforcing a cycle of care and responsiveness that ultimately leads to more comfort, more confidence, and more freedom. And this is why the 10p coin trick is not just about physical therapy in the traditional sense, but about retraining both body and mind to work together in harmony. And part of this retraining process also involves understanding the rhythm of pain itself, noticing when it flares, what motions aggravate it, and what small inputs tend to soothe it. And that kind of observation is easier when you introduce a tactile, physical marker like a coin, which gives your nervous system a stable, non-threatening point of reference that helps recalibrate your sense of proprioception or body awareness, which often declines with age and contributes to joint instability and injury. And this feedback, especially when applied consistently, reminds your brain that the area around the knee can feel secure and supported instead of constantly vulnerable or inflamed. And it's this sense of secure input that may be the most therapeutic aspect of the entire process, because our bodies respond powerfully to touch, even from an object as mundane as a coin. And that touch communicates presence, intention, and connection, all of which are critical elements of the healing process. And if you think about it, it's not so surprising that something so small can be effective when you remember that the body is a finely tuned instrument and often responds best to subtle adjustments rather than loud interventions. And the fact that this method works for people who've tried everything from steroid shots to prescription painkillers is a testament to the intelligence of the body and its capacity to respond to the right kind of input. And that's why it's worth repeating that success with the 10p coin trick depends not just on the placement or duration, but on your willingness to tune into your body and observe, to track your response and adjust gently. And in doing so, you become not just a patient, but a participant in your own recovery. And this shift from passive to active is vital in the journey of managing chronic pain, especially in later years when many feel like their best days are behind them. Because when you discover that a simple coin and a moment of care can create meaningful change, you begin to question all the limits you thought were fixed, and suddenly the world opens back up. You walk more, you stand taller, you say yes to outings and activities that once felt too taxing, and all of this leads to better circulation, better mood, better balance, and better health overall. And it's not just knee pain that improves, but your entire experience of being in your body starts to shift in a more positive direction, which is something medications alone often fail to achieve. And even though not every person will have the exact same results, and some will need to combine this with other therapies or strategies, the core message remains. The body is always listening. And when you speak to it with calm, focused, gentle input, like the steady pressure of a coin taped to a tender joint, it responds in kind, sometimes in ways that defy conventional logic but make perfect sense on an intuitive level. And if you can accept that healing doesn't always require dramatic effort or complex solutions, then you can begin to explore a whole range of tools and practices that bring comfort, not by overpowering the body, but by cooperating with it. And the 10p coin trick is just one beautiful example of that cooperative approach. Low cost, low tech, and low risk, yet potentially high reward. And even if you're skeptical at first, even if you've been told nothing short of surgery will help, it's worth giving your body the chance to respond, because often the most remarkable changes start with the smallest, most unexpected actions. And sometimes all it takes is the right signal at the right place for your body to begin the process of resetting itself and moving toward comfort once again. When you begin to embrace these small changes and simple practices like the 10p coin trick, you start to understand that health and comfort in your later years are not about chasing dramatic fixes or waiting for medical breakthroughs, but about listening to your body in its quiet moments, offering it calm, consistent care, and choosing to believe that even the smallest act of attention, a gentle coin pressed to a sore joint, can become the turning point in a long journey with pain, because healing after 60 doesn't have to be complicated, expensive, or invasive. It just has to be intentional, and that intention ripples through every aspect of your day, from how you get up from your chair, to how you walk across the room, to how you sleep at night. And when you begin each day with the mindset that you are not powerless against your discomfort, when you take a few moments to apply a small, familiar object like a 10p coin and allow it to remind your nervous system that relief is possible, then you shift your entire outlook from coping to reclaiming. And over time, as your awareness grows, as your confidence rebuilds, and as your steps become steadier, you'll begin to recognize just how much control you still have, not just over your joints, but over your quality of life, your independence, and your ability to say yes to movement, yes to comfort, and yes to the daily rituals that remind you your body still wants to support you, that it's still responsive, still wise, still capable of surprising you in the best ways. And that realization is one of the most powerful gifts of all, especially in a world that too often tells seniors they should expect decline or accept discomfort as the new normal. Because we know now that aging doesn't mean giving up. It means tuning in more deeply, more patiently, more gently, and finding the approaches that honor where you are right now, rather than trying to rewind the clock. And when we approach health this way, with kindness instead of urgency, with curiosity instead of fear, then even the simplest practices take on deeper meaning, and our bodies begin to respond not just with less pain, but with more trust, more ease, more clarity about what they need from us. And so if you're someone who's been battling knee discomfort for months or even years, if you've tried medication after medication or hesitated to move too much for fear of making things worse, let this be your gentle invitation to explore a new path. One that costs next to nothing, requires no equipment or appointments, and begins with nothing more than a coin, a bit of tape, and a few minutes of mindful attention. And maybe, just maybe, that's all your body has been waiting for. Not for something extreme, but for something honest and grounded, something simple and consistent, something that says, I'm here, I'm paying attention, I believe you can still feel better. And in that space, healing becomes possible again, not just in theory, but in your lived, everyday reality. And that is what we stand for here at Healthful Living 60 Plus, where we believe every person over 60 deserves practical, natural tools that support strength, mobility, and joy without side effects, confusion, or pressure to chase unrealistic results. Because what matters most is not perfection, but progress. Not eliminating every ache, but finding more moments of comfort, clarity, and calm in your body, in your daily life. And if that sounds like the kind of journey you want to be on, then you're already on the right track, because you're exploring, you're learning, and you're willing to try something new. And that courage, that willingness to keep moving forward, even in small steps, is what defines true healthful living. Every day, at every age, and especially after 60.